Hi, how you doing, Doctor?
Hey, I'm good.
Nice to see you.
Wow, we got a little shot
bit of a
there.
shot, yeah,
Okay, so nice to see you
Well,
again.
it's a pleasure to be back.
All right,
I can't tell you enough how much that homework you gave me helped me.
Really? Tell
I
me
mean,
about it.
Well, going into the cockpit, being so flustered while sitting in the terminal, and then ending up having to be in that cockpit and feeling all that stress. It never occurred to me to take a second to slow down.
Mm-hmm.
And when you told me to put my hands on the wheel and close my eyes and just be there in the moment, I felt so much relief.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm still stressed a bit, leading up to that moment, but when I'm in that cockpit and I sit down, I'm much more confident about, alleviating some of that stress. Also, I've cut my drinking quite a bit.
Really? So
Yeah.
how has that affected you with decreasing that? Even more, because I know we spoke about you were doing 7 before,
Mm-hmm.
and then I made the recommendation, or just to try, which you we worked together with that, and I'm glad you had the buy-in,
Mm-hmm.
and so you decreased it to 3. So where are we now with the drinking?
Honestly, we're pretty much at maybe 1 to 2 drinks a week,
Wow.
and I really only go out with one of my co-pilots.
Okay.
It's been an unbelievable realization for me because it was really just what I did.
Okay.
I really didn't realize until you helped me to actualize and have something to. The homework really helped
Mm-hmm.
me. Having that element of needing to meet the criteria and not,
Mm-hmm.
have something go awry in that sense.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big deal for me.
Okay, and I'm glad that it did, because what can come along with that is sometimes with our thoughts, our beliefs, our feelings. Sometimes there's so many things that are happening within us that we don't know how much it can affect our lives. And I think still within that moment, I still want to dive into what may have caused it in the first place. The centering was great. I'm glad that you did that. I appreciate
it helped so much
because your success in this is not based upon me. It's based upon the work that you do for you, and so I applaud you. And so that's great, because when you do the work, you're not only doing it for you, you're doing it for your family, which I really appreciate.
And I realized that. I realized how much time I was spending at the bar. That was another
Okay.
thing. That
Okay.
I just realized how much more at home I was.
Okay.
And the time I spent with my wife and everything,
Mm-hmm.
I never really realized how much time I was spending away.
Okay.
I mean, when I cut the drinks down from that crazy amount that I was drinking to now what it is,
Mm-hmm.
even when it was, only 3 drinks a week, that was too much. I was there so often,
Mm-hmm.
and I was losing time. I've missed most of my kids' lives sitting at a bar.
Yeah. Definitely what I'm hearing is presentness, right? Presentness, moments, and like everything that you're saying, it seems as if it connects to being present, right? Decreasing the drinking, now it has increased your presence at home. Also increase your time with your kids. You being present in your moment within the cockpit, right? When you're getting ready to fly, centering you. And so it seems as if that is going to be very instrumental within your life. And I really wanted to dive into something else, because I know when you initially came in, and we spoke about, what you really wanted to tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And sleep, right? You really needed that sleep.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the anxiety. So it seems as if the sleep, you're getting more of it, which I
The
would
sleep.
think.
I'm still working those extra hours.
Okay, so 50?
Still
at 50?
I believe it's 50
Okay,
now,
okay.
and I don't know if it's that's really making me tired, but I'm home a lot earlier now.
Okay.
I have more energy than I did,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm still finding myself unable to sleep,
Mm-hmm.
and we did the centering exercise, and that has been so good for me when I'm sitting there in the cockpit, but I still feel this tension leading up to getting to that terminal and then sitting there at that terminal, and I don't know if it's burnout,
Okay.
but I've never felt as though I was burning out.
Okay.
It's all of a sudden this feeling.
I have a question for you. Within your job, within the position that you hold, and I know you have been flying for quite a while, and I know that in our first visit, I asked if you enjoyed it, and there were parts of it that you enjoyed, and I know because you've done it for so long, some of the enjoyment is gone, but you still, you appreciate the opportunities that it provides you. But I'm wondering, in that, have you ever taken like a vacation or taken time to yourself where again you could go back to that moment of being present?
Well, I took a vacation about 15 years ago, so that was,
Okay.
I feel like that was a good amount of time.
So where did you go on that vacation?
Well, we went to Disney World.
You went to Disney, okay.
Oh yeah, the wife's
Mickey
a big,
Mouse is
the
good
wife's
for a
a
lot
big
of
Disney
people.
freak.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
All right. Give me some of those moments that you remember from that trip. If you could go back to it.
Well, we had just had the kids getting out of high school, and they were going into college. It was kind of the last time that we could really take them.
Uh-huh.
And they'd always said that I hadn't taken them in so many years, and
Okay.
it's true, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just nice to be able to spend time with the family. I remember riding roller coasters with the kids, and
Okay.
that was definitely a
So you
a
ride the
great
roller
moment.
coasters, huh?
Well, I'm a pilot, so
Well,
I'm going
man,
600
I
to 700 miles an
get
hour
it.
every day.
I get it. However, I can tell you with me personally, I'm not a roller coaster person, but I'll ride in planes.
No,
You
there
know.
you go.
But anyway, so
Much safer.
yeah, it definitely is. So as far as with that feeling, I know that your kids, most likely they appreciated the time that you spent with them. And so if you had to embrace or even think about more of that feeling, because I want to, I want you to be able to embrace the release that comes in being present in the moment.
So
And what is it
what
that
do
you
you
sense?
what do you mean by presence? I don't
Okay.
really. I'm here.
Uh-huh.
I'm here. I like to say that I'm pretty perceptive about being. My day to day. I'm very perceptive.
Mhm.
As a pilot, I have to constantly be aware of what's going on so that nothing goes misaligned. I got people's lives in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
So, what kind of presence do you think that I'm missing? I kind of agree, but I don't know why.
So as far as with present, the way that I would actually describe it, as well as some of the theories to which we will try out while we're here and meeting in our sessions, it's placing yourself, even though you're physically somewhere, sometimes we're not necessarily present. So being a pilot, there's a lot of focus that happens, of course, because the lives of many people are in your hands, right? Okay. So sometimes you can be present and focused in that moment, but there could be some other things that are happening. some other thoughts that are happening. There could be things in your present, there could be things in your past. It could be something that happened right before you got on the plane. So there's many things that can happen outside of you being physically present, because sometimes that's what people they consider to be present, of being physically there. But it would be equivalent to you driving in traffic, and there's a lot of traffic on I-95. And so although you're presently there and you're steering that steering wheel and your destination is home, you want to be home. So in an instant, sometimes it can create anxiety and stress in us because we want to be home already, but we're not there, right? However, if embracing the moment of I'm in traffic, I will get home, that will actually take away some of the anxiety that some people have. So I think that would be the best example that I can give you. That physically you can be someplace, but if you have distractions, right, you're physically present, but emotionally sometimes you can be elsewhere, mentally you can be elsewhere. And I think that based upon some of the things that have worked for you thus far, the homework that you've done, it's shown that you being fully present and where it is that you are, not bringing in those additional things, seems as if it's helpful for you. I want to go back to something else that we were talking about, because it might be connected, may not be. So as we go through this, if there are things that you disagree with, it's okay. And what we can do is we can try another route, because the most important thing for me is that you get the peace that you need as far as your sleep and the other things that we've spoken about initially. All right? And so I want to go back to a subject that I know was a little sensitive to you, although you were vocal with it. I saw more of an apprehension in your body language versus your verbal language. You were quite clear. So I want to talk about Dad, right?
Alrighty.
Yeah, I want to talk about Dad. And because I'm thinking that there are some connections in regards to some of the sleep that you're missing, some of the anxiety, and, you know, just kind of creating that clear pathway so we can separate some things and then we can connect some others. All right. So as far as with your dad, I want you to, we're going to deconstruct some things, okay? And so how we're going to do that, there are some feelings that you express, that you feel about Dad. And the things that you said, they were not necessarily the positive things that you knew about him.
There's not much positive, really.
Okay. But if you had to think about some of the positive things that maybe Dad did, Dad said, when he wasn't intoxicated, when he wasn't being abusive, were there some qualities in Dad that you liked? And if so, it doesn't have to be full sentences, but more so of just what words come to mind. And I can throw some words out there at you, and you just tell me what you think about it. Okay?
I think that would help me.
All right. Let's see. Provider.
Mother.
Emotions.
Put aside.
Participant.
Sequestered.
Play.
Escape.
All right. And so those words that you've given me, it centers around dad not being fully present, right? That although he may have physically been there, he wasn't present. Okay? He wasn't present.
That's what you mean by present.
Yeah. Because when we look at different things, sometimes we may use semantics and call it something else, but often it will come back to a source that, unless we dive into it, unless we discover it, we're not peeling back the layers that are needed in order to be free, in a sense. And so when we're looking at the things that you've done, how do you consider yourself outside of those things that we spoke about? You know, we spoke about Disney. We spoke about your career as a pilot, being in the cockpit, centering yourself. We spoke about you decreasing your drinks. And with you decreasing your drinks, you're being more present, being a participant with your kids, with your wife. What are some other areas that you can think of where you're being more present, or that you can be more present? What do you think?
Like it maybe I could do with being more present with my wife, and maybe not thinking of my time spent with her as simply kind of checking off the box. I guess I do kind of think about it like that. And it's sort of like what's next is always on my mind, not really what's happening. But we're always, or at least I've always been a checklist kind of person, down to my flight checklist.
Okay.
So I don't know how to be present, but I want to be. I think that's the first place I should be, with the kids being out of the house and everything.
Okay. And so your life, based upon your job, and you've been doing it for a long time, and so I don't know whether being someone that has that checklist, if it came before your career or after, right? But I know that we have more time in this session, but definitely towards the end, I know I have some homework for you, and it's dealing with that. And I think you'll enjoy it. I think it may make you feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I think the benefits that will come along with it, that you really appreciate.
If it's anything like the last few pieces of work that you've given me to do, I'm excited to see what the options are.
Okay. All right. So that word association, you did really well. So good job on that.
Thank you.
Okay. So
I don't know what I did, but
yeah, you did really well. I mean, the thing that I really appreciate in our sessions is that you're always open. You never hold back, and that's really important. Just you being here is saying a lot, because you want a better life. You want to sleep. You want to have that full life. And there are some people that, I don't know if you've ever heard of, people saying, I'm living my best life. But oftentimes your best life comes from moving out the dysfunction that you thought was your best life. Right? So we're going to work on that. And I know that you're willing to do the work, so I appreciate that. So as far as with your mom, right? Because I know we've talked about dad quite a bit. We only touched on pretty much what mom received in regards to the abuse and different things. And I neglected to ask, did you have siblings?
One older brother, yeah.
Okay. So your older brother, how much older?
He's about 16 years older.
16 years older. Wow, that's significant. Okay.
He left the house before I was 7, 8 years old.
Okay. What was his relationship with dad?
Well, he left as fast as he could.
Okay.
And to be completely honest with you, I haven't heard from him in close to 35 years.
Wow, that's a long time. That's a long time. And so that disconnection. So when it came to anything experienced in the home, did you feel alone?
I felt
Would you describe
abandoned.
it like that?
I felt abandoned there.
Okay.
That maybe I wasn't worth taking with them.
Okay. All right. And so feeling as if you're on your own, and then these things were happening in the household. Okay. All right. So let's go back to mom. So with mom, what kind of relationship did you have with mom?
Well, mom was the provider of the home.
Okay.
Without her, we wouldn't have stayed afloat. My father, after finishing his, time at his job, he was let go, and he never seeked out any sort of employment after that. So it was left to my mother to work 2 jobs, 2 different restaurants, working as a cook and as a waitress, just to keep us afloat. And I'll never forgive my dad for what he did to her, in the sense of leaving her with that as a position she needed to fill. Both provider, caretaker, everything. I grew up in a household where when I went to my friend's house, I saw structure and this respect, but then when I went home, there was just none of that. And
I gotcha.
And I knew that was wrong. I don't know how that could be attributed to my family or my genes or anything like that, but I don't think it is. I think I had to see something other than my own family to get that idea.
And I get that. There are some, there are multiple influences in our lives. And sometimes people believe that it came from us as children. And oftentimes it is from, some of those experiences, as a child. But those interactions that we have with families that don't necessarily look like ours, that we wish our families looked like the Brady Bunch, right? That family that
the ones you see on TV.
Yeah, the ones that are on
it's
TV.
It's almost like a fairy tale that you just can't help but want.
And I can tell you myself, there were families, and I know that I'm much older than you, and there were families on television when I was younger that I will look up to. And so it's good when we have those examples. So in your family, if you had to define your role, and I'm going to say, pretty much when Dad was maybe at his best, what was your role in the household?
A mediator.
A mediator. Okay.
Right. I would always get between my dad and my mom.
Okay.
And when I would do that, I tried to do it in a way that my dad couldn't tell that it was even happening. Change the subject.
Okay.
Create some kind of other thing for them to focus on. Whatever it may be, because there really wasn't a best for my dad.
Okay. All right. So the best kind of looked like the worst. Okay. And something that, and what you just said, in being a mediator, and while being that mediator, doing it in a way that he didn't necessarily know that you were doing it. Why did you choose not to be as overt in regards to that mediation that you were creating in your family? Why would you say at that time? Would it be because of, even though he was who he was there a level of respect that was there, or what would you say?
I typically would get a lot of flack for it.
Okay.
it didn't stop me from speaking up, but it was definitely something that
My eye is burning a little, so
would always
please
happen.
excuse me
No, it's okay.
at a certain time of the evening, but we are going to proceed. Okay.
But I would typically get a lot of flack, and I didn't mind the fact that I was getting the flack because it was to protect my mom.
Okay.
And that was something that no matter what I was going to do.
Okay. And what I'm noticing is that kind of overt, the overtness that you had, well, covertness rather, that you had at that point, there's something that has happened within your adult life and you as a father. It seems as if it has manifested into being more overt. Seems as if you're being more vocal now. Would you agree?
Well, since now I'm more at a point in my life where my career is that. It is my career. And my life has gotten to such a point that I feel I've done the job of not being my father.
Okay. And if you had to look at your life, period, and this is kind of tapping into a theory, or pretty much, in the therapy world, it's existentialism, right? So if you had to look at just your role and your purpose, do you see that you're driven by purpose? And maybe that purpose is in being, like you were saying, different than your dad, that being a goal? Or do you believe that it's more so of, it's not a focused purpose, but it's just something that you're just being intentional about and letting it fall where it may? What do you think?
I feel it may be closer to the latter.
Okay.
In that there's definitely a level of acceptance that I've gotten to regarding my feelings towards my father.
Okay.
But sort of kind of to bring this back to what we started with, I was pretty vehement that I was not copying my father's behavior, but I feel as though I was blind to it.
Okay, I got you. And I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. And it seems as if there was a goal without knowing that there was a goal, like you were saying. And you are checking off. It seems like you're checking off boxes still, in regards to that. And boxes can be good. But when it comes to being fully present, sometimes it's not. And so that is going to lead to some homework that I'm going to give you. It's going to be a little, sometimes you may feel a little anxious about it, but it's not going to be a bad anxious.
Well, let's hear it.
And I think you'll get some great rewards, especially, of increasing the time with your wife and with your kids. I want you to take those boxes away. I want you not to think about the next. I want you to be fully present for as long as she needs you. Okay? That means allowing her, because with checked off boxes, oftentimes it means if we go somewhere, if we go on a vacation, I handle the itinerary. Nope, you're not handling any of that. And so this is going to be an experience in you being loved. Because when looking at your childhood, being and feeling alone when your brother left, because I'm hearing alone, I'm hearing present, that's come up, several times in regards to this session. And so being alone, oftentimes we feel as if, and being a mediator, sometimes it creates this kind of tug of war. I'm alone, right? I need someone for me, but I gotta be there for mom, right? I need someone for me, but I have to be there for mom, okay? So there's 3 things that will happen in this homework. it will be where you're allowing yourself to be loved, being appreciated. You're allowing yourself to not have to necessarily jump in and protect someone, right? And then you're learning to be fully present, being loved, not having to be a protector for anyone. And I know that, of course, there's something that comes along with being a husband, right? Being the protector of the home. And so that's going to be something that is there, but not an action that you believe that you have to put
not
in
a set of actions.
It's not a set of actions. All right. So in that homework, I believe that you're going to get some beneficial things from it. I also believe, and we are going to revisit it as the sessions increases, as we go into our next sessions, just basically how it's going to make you feel, the things that it's going to help you to release. And also, I'm going to work on forgiveness, because I can tell that there's some things that happen with Dad that sometimes just because we forgive, it doesn't mean that we've told that person you've behaved nicely.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I'm going to release it for me. And so we will check back in regards to that, and we're going to set up another appointment so that we can even create even better air for you.
So just before we go, I wanted to just go over my homework quickly.
Okay.
So you want me to be present, you want me to not check off boxes.
Correct.
And you want me to allow myself to not feel as though I have to be protective over someone through a set of actions. Okay.
Allow yourself to be in the moment and to be loved.
I think I can do that.
Okay. And so I'm glad that you're in agreement with that. And so we are going to continue in our next session. Okay?
Thank you so much.
I always love when you come. Thank you.
Doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you.